Hello everybody, welcome back to Reading for Vocabulary. I'm Brian Stewart. We're going over Lesson 3 here. Lesson 3 is What's After 7? What's after 7? Dinner! No, we're talking about math, right? So when we talk about what's after 7, we're talking about counting, right? So did you know there is an elephant that can count? So when we talk about count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What's after 7? I don't know. Oh, well, right. It's 8, right? What's after 7? It's 8. Okay, so of course it depends on what you're talking about. What's after 7? Oh, dinner time! No, we're talking about math, counting. So what's after 7? It's 8. Okay, so that's what we're going to learn about in this lesson. Something very interesting about an animal, an elephant, that can count. That's very strange, right? Well, let's get right away. Let's go into the vocabulary that we need to know these words in order to study the reading passage later on. Now, the first word we have is to find something. To find something. Now, that's an interesting picture. Looks like a scuba diver just came up and he found something on the bottom of the ocean. What did he do? He discovered something. He discovered something. By the way, doesn't he look familiar? Yeah, he's a famous actor, Matthew McConaughey. Okay? Maybe you've seen him in a movie before. But in this movie, he discovered something at the bottom of the ocean. So when you find something, you discover it. Okay, next word. Whoa, we have many apples here, many green apples. There's one red apple. To change one thing for another. So let's say this person says, okay, I'm going to take the red apple and I'm going to put a green apple in its place. In this case, you could say switch. They're going to switch apples, right? So they switch this red apple, they take it out, and they put a green one in its place. That means you switched them. To switch. Okay, number 3. Oh, person's doing exercise. Can you do this exercise? It's called a push-up, by the way. That's not the word, but just so you know, this is called a push-up, push-up. She's doing push-ups, right? You could do sit-ups, right? This is a push-up. But when you do push-ups, you don't just do one, right? You do them again. You repeat the exercise, right? So you say, I can do push-ups. 1, I'm done. No, you have to repeat, right? Do it 10 times, right? Do 1 push-up, 2 push-ups, 3 push-ups. You repeat, you do again. So when you exercise, you do the exercise again. You repeat the exercise many times. Number 4, very smart girl, right? She's going to be a chemist when she grows up. She's studying chemistry. Now, chemist, by the way, how do you say that? Chemist. Chemist. A chemist is a type of scientist. What do scientists do? They have tests to see what happens. Scientists have many questions about the world, so they have many tests to see what will happen if they do something. And we call that, another word for that test is called an, oh, this is a really long word, experiment. Whew, so long, right? Experiment. So how many sounds? Experiment. 4 sounds. Experiment. Let's put them all together. Experiment. Experiment. So an experiment is specifically what a scientist, like a chemist, does to see what happens. It's a test, a type of test, a very specific type of test. There are many kinds of tests. You take a test in school. That's not an experiment. An experiment is when a scientist does something to see what will happen. That's an experiment. Okay, next one. Oh, this is a very interesting picture, isn't it? To choose. Now, it's important to choose wisely, right? You see this picture here. This person chose a hamburger. You see? This person chose an apple. You see? Very important to choose the right thing. Person who chose a hamburger is kind of fat, right? But this person who chose the apple they're slim. They're not so fat. They're in good shape. Okay? But you choose something. Another word to choose is to select. You select one thing or the other thing. Will you select a hamburger? Then you will look like me, right? If you select the apple, you'll look like I did 20 years ago. Okay? So, depending on what you choose, that's important. Depending on what you select, what will you select? Okay. Next one. A container for holding something. This is a container. There are many different kinds of containers that hold things, right? This is a special type of container. It holds water. It has a handle that you can carry it. We call this container a bucket. A bucket is usually used to carry water or sand or something else. And many buckets have a handle that you can carry it around with. Okay? Buckets are good for carrying heavy things. But we call this type of container a bucket. They're made of metal or plastic. So plastic bucket, metal bucket. This one's made of metal. Next one. Oh, what's he doing? It looks familiar. He's teaching, right? A university teacher. But he's not just a teacher, right? In your elementary school, your middle school, your high school, you can call those people teachers. But at a university, they have a special word for that type of teacher. They call them professor. 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 That's the word for a teacher who teaches at a university. You don't call your teacher in high school a professor, you just say teacher. But when you go to college or you go to university, then you say professor. Okay, next one. There's a group of people here. They look very surprised. To surprise someone greatly. Now, when you surprise someone greatly, especially it means you scare them a little bit, right? That means you shock them. Oh my gosh, oh, right? You say, oh, I am shocked, right? You surprise someone really a lot. To shock them. He shocked them. Okay, next one. Now she looks a little frustrated, right? Something that is wrong. Something, of course, with computers, many things go wrong, right? So we can say it is a mistake. Okay, hopefully she didn't make the mistake. Maybe the computer made the mistake. But anyway, something went wrong. Something wrong happened. It is a mistake. So it's a mistake. Okay, next one. To make it difficult for someone to think clearly. This person is buried under a lot of work, right? They have so many things to do. It's difficult for them to think clearly. They are confused. They don't know what to do. Should I do this job? Should I do this job? Well, the phone's ringing. My boss is calling me. I'm confused, right? To confuse. 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 I'm very confused. I don't know what to do. 11. Well, this guy's pretty smart, right? He's doing, what is he doing? Well, the study of numbers. He's figuring out how to not just add and subtract, but also multiply and divide. He's studying math. Did you hear what I said? Add, subtract. That's simple math, right? If you add and subtract, that's simple math. Add is like plus or minus. But I also said multiply, multiply, and divide. That's more difficult math, right? That's multiply. We usually use that symbol. And to divide, we use that symbol, okay? So, add, subtract, multiply, divide. This is all the study of math. And the type of math he's doing is algebra. This is algebra. Algebra. There are many types of math, right? There are many types of math. There's simple math, doing this. There's algebra. There's trigonometry. There's calculus. Ooh, calculus is very difficult, right? But algebra, probably you will study algebra. Maybe you're studying algebra now. By the way, isn't this picture a little strange? Think about it. He's writing, but he's writing backwards. He's writing backwards so you can see what he's writing. But if you look at the picture closely, you see, oh, something strange about the picture. By the way, it's also interesting to notice, I'm just getting onto some of these. B equals 2. If you do these problems work out. And if, I'll just give you the answer. A, what does A equal? A equals 5. Look at it later, okay? We're studying words now, but if you want to look at the math, A equals 5. Do it later. Okay. 12. Intelligent. Somebody who's intelligent, okay? What do we call them? We call them smart. Are you smart? Of course you're smart. You're studying with me, right? I'm sorry. You're studying with these textbooks. So you're smart, right? Because you're intelligent. If you know a lot of things, it's interesting to look at this word, intelligent and smart. Intelligent doesn't mean that you have a lot of knowledge. Intelligent means that you can learn quickly. You can learn the knowledge. There's a difference between being intelligent and being wise. If somebody is wise, that means they have a lot of experience and they know from life what to do. But somebody who's intelligent has the ability. Intelligent is like ability to learn. And if you're smart, you can learn quickly, okay? So that's interesting. 13, with no error. With no error, no mistakes. You got it perfectly or exactly. Exactly correct. That's like 맞습니다, 맞고요, right? That's like exactly perfect. Exactly right, right? No problems, no errors. Okay, next one. Why something happened. Oh no, it's too bad. She got an F. Aigoo. There's some reason. What is the reason she got an F? The reason explains why something happened. We don't know, but we can think there are many reasons why she got an F. 1, she didn't sleep last night. 2, she didn't study. 3, she played a video game all night. There are many reasons why something happened. Many reasons why somebody would get an F. So I hope that doesn't happen to you. Make sure there is no reason for you to get an F. There should only be a reason for you to get an A. Okay. Number 15, to make a point in a test or a game. To make a point, or when you look at the points for both teams or for people, we're talking about the score. So when we use the word score, a very common question is, what is the score? So imagine Korea and Japan are playing a soccer game, right? And you want to know, what is the score? Then of course you say, well, Korea has 8 points and Japan has 0, right? That's the score. 8-0. 8-0. Okay? Maybe. Okay. What's the score? What are the points that each team got or each person got? That's the score. When we talk about the score, we usually talk about both teams. 8-0. Okay? Or you could say, what is your score on a test? Because it's also a test. My score was 89. That's pretty good, but it's better if your score is 100, right? Wow, that's a perfect score. So hopefully you get 100, okay? That would be a score on a test. Okay. The next word, to think that something is true. So if you think something is true, you believe in something. In this case, we have a picture of Santa Claus. Do you believe in Santa Claus? Of course, in that case, you think that Santa Claus is real, and it's true. That to believe something, to think that something is true, you believe in something. Okay? Okay, well, let's go over the vocabulary exercises. Exercise number 1. What is our directions? Complete each sentence with a word from the box. So we have 8 words in the box. We're going to have 8 sentences to fill in the blanks. Each sentence we have to choose which word goes into the blank for the sentence. We have a lot of words. What are they? Of course, these are words we just studied. The first one is discovered. Discovered. Remember, we studied the word discover, but now we're using it in the past tense. Discovered. Okay? bucket. We learned singular bucket. More than one bucket is buckets. Buckets. Okay, next one. Repeat, to do over. Repeat, but this one is repeated. Repeated. Okay, next one. We learned shock, but remember we can say shocked. Shocked. Okay, next one. Experiment. Ooh, there's our really long word, right? Experiment. Experiment. Okay, next one. Switch. Switch. Okay, switch. That might be a little difficult with the SW. You exchange or you move one for the other. Switch. Select. Selected. Okay, selected. Selected. Next one, professor. Professor. Okay, those are the words. Let's see if we can put these into these sentences correctly. I hope so. Number one, he will beep the old bucket with a new one. So think about that. We have two things here, right? We have an old bucket, we have a new one. So we have two buckets. We have an old bucket and a new bucket. What are we going to do? We're going to take the old bucket, maybe throw it away, and we're going to use the new bucket. So what are we doing in this case, right? We're taking one, removing it, and putting another one in its place. So in that case, we are going to switch. Switch. He will switch the old bucket with a new one. And this is probably what you do in your life too. If you have something that's old or broken, you throw it away or you get rid of it and you put a new one instead. For example, batteries. You switch the battery in your phone. Don't throw away your old battery, recharge it. But maybe you have two batteries, so you switch them. The new battery for the old one. You recharge the old one. That's a good example. Switch. Switch batteries. 2. The beep wants to give the elephant a math test. Okay, that's an interesting sentence. That's part of the reading, by the way. Okay, so if somebody wants to give an elephant a math test, who would do that, right? Think about that. We need a person, right? The professor wants to give the elephant a math test. Basically, that's the only one that we can use here because professor is a person, right? And that's the only person we've got up here. So the professor wants to give the elephant a math test. Okay, number 2. The workers beep gold and diamonds in the cave. What do the workers do? There's gold and diamonds in a cave. What are they going to do with those things? Now, not all caves have gold and diamonds, too bad, right? If you go to a cave, there's probably not going to be gold and diamonds in there. But if you're looking around and say, oh, look, if you find gold and diamonds there, what did you do? You discovered gold and diamonds in the cave. Okay, so discovered. They discovered gold and diamonds. They found gold and diamonds in the cave. Okay, the next one. They beep the same test 3 times. 3 times. They did it 3 times. Not just once, but they did it again and again and one more time again. Okay? So what word means that you do something not just once, but twice or 3 times or 4 times, right? What means that you do something more than once? That's this word right here, repeated. They repeated the same test 3 times. Okay, that's the word that makes sense there. Number 5. Fill the beep with water from the well. Okay. Remember we looked at this container that holds something, and it's usually, this container is made of metal or plastic, and of course I said you usually use it to carry water or sand or something that's heavy. What is it? What is that container that we use to carry stuff? There it is right there, bucket. Fill the buckets with water from the well. Okay? The next one, 6. The scientist is doing an what in the lab? What do scientists do? Remember before I talked about a scientist has many questions about the world. They want to make tests to see if the question is yes or no. Will this thing burn if I increase the temperature? That is what? That is an experiment. the scientist is doing an experiment in the lab. Okay? Our last two sentences. Ashia. Ashia is a name. It's the name of the elephant in the reading passage that we're going to read. Ashia, beep, the one with more apples in it. So, if you've read the passage already, what did Ashia the elephant do? Ashia the elephant, right? There's one with more apples. So you think there's more than one, right? You've got one here, you've got one here. Maybe there's 2 or 3 or 4. In the reading they talk about just 2, but Ashia is going to, right, take or pick, or what is she going to do? What is the elephant going to do? The elephant's going to select. Ashia selected the one with more apples in it. Select, choose. Okay? Number 8, are you beep that an elephant can count? So, the fact that an elephant can count, that's really surprising, isn't it? That's really amazing. And it might be so surprising that, right, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, right? What means that? What word has something to do with something that you find out, that you discover, and it's really surprising, some really surprising information? What word has to do with that? Well, of course, shocked. Are you shocked that an elephant can count? Did you know that? That's really shocking news. That's amazing news. Okay, well that wraps up the exercise for the vocabulary, and we've learned a lot of different words. So now we're going to use those. We're going to see those words in a reading passage. So we're going to take a short break, come back, and look at the reading passage.